Started. Welcome to the R Marketing uh, training today. We are super excited to be here with the one and only Mr. Steve Rich. Welcome.
Hey, thank you.
So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about Steve, kind of what makes Steve Steve, right? And introduce you to the great and guy that we all love, right? He is, he was, sorry, he was. It was a
Yes.
while ago. It was a while
Yeah.
ago, right? I guess. Um, he was the youngest VP at a $2.5 billion company. He was made VP when he was 23 years old, and a CMO. And so he was in charge of all the marketing for a $2.5 billion company. He worked hand in hand with the president in making sure all the marketing for this company actually functioned well. Because of what he did and what he was able to grow and build while he was there, he was asked to come and speak at a lot of different conferences around the world to talk about this kind of marketing that he was doing. And in doing that, it's a story that he'll share with you a little bit later on. But he was able to meet and rub elbows with some of the top people in guerrilla marketing. And because of the amazing things that he was able to do and see happen, he was brought in to the guerrilla marketing. So he's one of 13 guerrilla marketing master trainers in the world. It's worldwide.
Yeah.
Worldwide.
Yeah.
13?
I think there's a new one in Antarctica. So 14.
Oh,
13. Yep, 13 of us.
13 in the world. It's amazing. And we have that ability to use those skills and those talents for all the people that we work with. And that's what sets our marketing apart from so many different marketing companies out there. When he left, he decided to retire because you get to that point, right? Where you're like, well, let's do this. So he decided to retire. And in doing so, he was contacted by so many people before you'd even fully retired, right?
Yeah.
Um, Asking him to do marketing for them. And so he gave him marketing ideas and helped them through some marketing stuff. And but he hadn't created anything yet. And so he finally asked them one day, who are you telling people that's doing this marketing stuff for you? And they said, oh, we just tell them our marketing department did it for us. And so he's like, I can handle this, right? So he started our marketing department. And since then, we're a large company that's here to help you in your marketing
Yeah.
skills and abilities. So
Adventures.
adventures, the
Yeah.
excitement of it all, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, thanks. That's great. And it's so neat too to just see the the staff of our marketing. We've just got some of the best people that you could possibly imagine and creative, fun. They understand about getting an ROI off of money spent and just good, integrous, hardworking people.
Awesome. So talk to us about your business growth blitz, right?
Yeah.
That is something that is it's coming soon. So it's something that we possibly
Yeah.
can tease a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess.
Maybe even today.
Is it ready to go
It's
today?
pretty close. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So what this whole program was is as we would meet with different owners of businesses, whether they were brand new or they had been around for 10 or 15 years, there's a lot of times where they weren't structured right for their marketing. So they were spending too much money. They were doing things that weren't giving them an ROI. They weren't focused on their effort. And so what we wanted to do is have a program that helps them see so that they can get their arms around of who they are, where they're going, what they need to do to grow and to be successful. So that's kind of the whole program of Business Growth Blitz. We put together step by step different pieces to build the strategy, and based upon their strengths, based upon the market conditions, competitors. That's kind of the whole purpose of Business Growth Blitz.
Awesome. So within business growth blitz, these are kind of 8 points that you just pulled out to kind of highlight what each session is about, but it
Yeah.
goes into much more depth into each one of these sessions. But talk to me about being a number two. What does that mean?
Well, yeah, no, that's great. I'm glad you asked because that to me is one of the most important things that any business can do. In fact, I'll tell people the number one thing you can do to grow your business is be a number two. And what I mean by that is, so previously when I was vice president of that company, I was young and I wanted to do the best possible job I could. And so I looked and thought, what really is my role? What can I do? And one of the cool things is I would talk with our CEO, and our CEO was just a great man. He was just very smart, accomplished a lot of things, um, and very well known. However, I found that if I could highlight him, if I could talk about him, if we went to a meeting, say with Procter and Gamble, if I could go in a little bit early and, and show some respect. Hey, let's make sure we get a water for him. Hey, and then I tell a story about something he accomplished and talk about his honesty, talk about his integrity, talk about those type of things. As he would arrive at the meeting, he's already looked at as a hero because I kind of build him up that way. And again, he was much better known than I was in that. So, but still, by doing that, being a number two to him, it helped him even get more accomplished. We got more money given to us. We got more opportunities because he looked like a person that could get things done. And so, as I left there and started my own company, I went out and I went to my first BNI meeting, and I'd never been part of BNI. I didn't even know what it was at that point. But I remember as I sat around talking with these people, so many of them said, "Oh, I wish I had a contact there because I could get this done," or "Man, I wish I knew how to do this the right way so it doesn't cost me." And all these things, I thought, well, I could help him, I could help him, I could help him. But I also didn't want to come across as a cocky, know-it-all type person. And so I thought, God, I wish I had an executive vice president. I mean, I can't afford a janitor. I have to do everything myself. But if I could have an executive vice president who could let them know about, my integrity, let them know that when I say I want to help you, it doesn't mean I'm going to charge you. It means I'm going to figure out a way to help you, or they could talk about my experience so they knew what I knew I was talking about. Anyway, as I looked around, I thought, I wish I had that number two for me to get that out. But as I looked around the room, I thought, you know what? Everybody here could use a number two. Everybody could use somebody to kind of beat the drum for them, to talk about them. To One of the hardest things for any of us is anybody that comes right out and says, "I'm a very honest person." You question their honesty, right? So it's hard for people to talk about their own honesty. Yet I can, with passion, talk about somebody else's honesty that I've had a great experience with. And so being a number two is, we said, you need to just start doing that and doing that. And we actually, in our office, we have all of us have little goals of how many people we're going to be a number two for every single day. And so we go out there, and some days you're interacting more than others. But what that is you don't fake it, you don't make it up. But once you've experienced somebody's professionalism, you've experienced their honesty, you experience kind of what they can do, you start telling other people, because we all believe in word of mouth now. And so in my book, I feel like in marketing, if they've done a great job and I've noticed and I've seen it, I owe it to them to share it with others, and because that's what people believe. So what we do is we teach you how the best way to do that. What's the best way you can lift the other business around you, and then just by doing that, your business will be lifted.
So in that kind of that teaching, right? I
Yeah.
guess talk me through what you've seen revenue come in wise for people who are able to implement this kind of a tactic.
Well, some of them I've worked with have had even greater than this, but I think you could look at almost even a 20 grand a month bump by just doing that right.
By
And
getting
that's,
in by being a number two for other
yeah,
people, you're going to see that kind of
and that's,
return for yourself every single month.
yeah,
Okay.
and it's because it's
I'm
huge.
gonna
It's a
put that
great
up
point.
here. Is
Yeah,
that okay?
yeah,
Okay. So monthly costs, I guess this is more of like a one-time cost, right? You learn the technique, you learn how to do it properly.
yeah.
And then it's a monthly cost. What would you say the cost to like learn something like this really well one time so that you can use it every single
Yeah,
month?
the one time somebody to go through and help you set it up and know you have everything just right so you can do that easy, probably 15 grand.
15 grand for a one time.
Yeah, one
Okay.
time. So for the 20 grand is ongoing. That would be every month, but that would be a one time.
We'll just put one time right there then.
Yeah,
I mean, and even that in the first month, you're still up
yeah,
5 grand, right?
yep,
From that. But once you've learned that technique, something you can
yeah.
use forever. So I tease them a little bit about the guerrilla marketing stuff. Okay. You've got to walk them through how it is that you got into that, and then talk to them about what guerrilla marketing is exactly.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'll start out with so guerrilla marketing was an effort. J. Conrad Levinson authored a book called Guerrilla Marketing. It was kind of neat how that came to be. Is he's a great marketer. He's the guy that came up with a whole bunch of different brands that out there. Um, Where's the beef? Snap, Crackle, Pop, Kellogg's, Tony the Tiger. He even came up with um, the Marlboro Man and that whole thing. In fact, when that was given to him, it was a women's cigarette, and they couldn't get it to take off. It was struggling, and they got him in there, and he's the one that created the whole cowboy, the men's side of it, and changed that around. And I'm not a big fan of cigarettes myself, but you look at that, and from what I understand, last data I was just looking at, 7 out of 8 packs of cigarettes that are sold today have the name Marlboro on them, and he created that from nothing. So he is this great marketer. But he was always asked, how do you stand out? How do you make things different? How do you make it sure that people notice you without it costing you an arm and a leg? And he had there was a couple guys that he'd taught and he'd worked with and at Berkeley and some other areas, and who were starting a new company, and they called and asked him and said, hey, can you tell us what a book or something we could read to follow, because we want to really launch this thing but we don't have a whole lot of money. And he said sure, and he went home, and then he called him like the next day and just said, just give me another couple days, I didn't find a book, so I'm writing you one. And so that's when he kind of wrote guerrilla marketing. And really, guerrilla marketing, some people call it the low cost, no cost type of marketing, which sometimes that's a benefit, but I wouldn't look at it like that. I'd look at it as it's a way to get noticed in all these messages that we receive. It's how do I stand out? I'm not just a me too with everybody else in my industry. How do I stand out? And it's doing some unique things and doing some fun things and some things that really get remembered. So anyway, I that's kind of a lot of things that we did in the company I was with, is to really get success. Is we had unique events, stuff that our competitors couldn't or wouldn't do, we would do, and it would draw people in. And so after we had some great success, they would have me go and around the country, and I would teach this to other light companies. And after one of my speeches up talking to them about it, I'd gone back and I was just sitting outside the event center. I was just on my computer, kind of catch up on emails, and this lady came out and she grabbed my papers and she said, tell me more about this guerrilla marketing. And so I told her Jay Conrad Levinson wrote it, and I answered her questions. And she asked me a few key pointed questions. And then she said, now, didn't his wife co-author some of the books? And I'm so happy I remembered. But I said, yeah, Jeannie, she got co-authored several of the books. And she goes, hi, I'm Jeannie. And so I was so glad that I remembered that, because a lot of times I don't fully remember who the authors are. I remember the concepts. But anyway, so she got involved and started inviting me to different events where just be some of the best marketers that I think are looked at as some of the best in the entire country. And so I got to start to rub shoulders with them. And after we got going, that's when at one point they tested me and made me one of them as one of the 13 master marketing marketing trainers in the country. But the neat thing about that is I still get in touch with these guys, and I get data from what they've learned in different parts of the country or even in different parts of the world. And you can kind of see marketing trends, what's working, what's not. And so it's just a great benefit. And so what we do in the class is we get in and we really teach people what that concept is, and then how to look at it, how to do it, how to be able to implement that in a way that you really get the bang for your buck. And anyway, it's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of great creative uh, thinking and marketing throughout it.
So we won't tell the story today, but there is a story that he does tell in the class of how he used a kazoo to make $45 million.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
So if you want to
Yeah,
know that, this is the class for you to take. A kazoo.
that's right.
So if used properly, whether it's with a kazoo or not, guerrilla marketing,
Yeah.
what do you see revenue wise to bring
Honestly,
in?
that's out of all the things up there, that's probably the biggest bump. I would honestly say if you do it right, you get it up and rolling, 50 grand a month
Okay.
in sales.
Okay. So yeah, that is. And then to have a coach work with you monthly on that to make sure it's all done properly and it's all like you're thinking outside the box, you're using your creative team. How much would you pay a monthly coach to help you with the guerrilla marketing aspect of
Well,
stuff?
outside of us, we do some stuff, but outside of us, if you looked out there, a lot of the guys that train that are honestly close to about half that. They're 25K a month
25. Okay.
to,
Still, I mean, you're still bringing in 25,000 though,
yeah.
right? So I mean, that's pretty awesome. So, talk to me about positioning. Why is positioning so important in
That
marketing?
that is key. And so many businesses out there think that they know where they're at, but they don't, and they just try to be a me too with their competitors. What this is basically taking a look at the marketplace and saying, where are the gaps? Where can I stand out? Where can I be number one? And is that important to the consumers, the clients, right? I worked with a guy who owned a five-star restaurant, beautiful, great restaurant. And when I really asked him, okay, how do you stand out? How do you position? He said, Steve, I'm the cleanest restaurant in town. And I thought, that's really nice and you should keep that up. But really, because you're a five-star restaurant, a lot of that is expected, right? That's not really his positioning differentiating point. That's something that you should keep doing, and it's great, and he has there. But if he was to put on a billboard, "I'm the cleanest," people would maybe say, "Has there been a problem? What? Why is he talking about that?" And so for him, it kind of turned around to really his differentiating was his signature products, certain products that he did that nobody else did that were just great and that people remembered, right? So in positioning, you can come back and say, okay, how do I stand out, and is there a way that I can stand out that'll get even more business coming my way? Um, Lots of different ways to do that.
With positioning. So if you're positioned properly, you're position yourself correctly in the market. What do you see as far as like a bump in monthly revenue?
Honestly, this is where you see a lot of companies, even that have been around for a while. Once they go through this, I would say probably about 30,000 a month.
30,000 a month bump
Yeah,
by just positioning themselves properly
yeah.
in the market. Awesome. And then so if they were to spend a coach, again, a master coach just on positioning every single month, what would they spend?
Some of the ones that I know out there that do just that are close to 20 grand a month.
20 grand. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, still worth it, right? Because you're still making 10 grand on top of that, right?
right.
But okay, that's great. Talk to me about events. Events, word of mouth. Like, why is this important within marketing? And
So yeah, so many people try to use events, but they don't know how to do them right. And events can, if you do them right, they not only can boost your immediate business, but they can anchor you in the hearts and minds of whoever your clients are for years to come. And in the class, I'll tell you about this great opportunity we had with a mattress company. And most of us don't buy mattresses every month or even every year. And so this one mattress company needed to stand out. It was really struggling. And we went through and did this great things. And it's kind of cool to hear the story. But to all of us that see, they actually doubled their business, but it wasn't just for 1 month. It was ongoing and lasted for years while they're in that location, just by coming in and doing the right kind of event. Now, again, don't get me wrong, there's some events out there that people do and they get a good bump for the month, and that's great. But really, some of the events we're talking about are stuff that actually makes long lasting, like I say, you're anchored in people's minds as the provider, the honest, the people to work with, the one that are principle centered, all that stuff you can anchor into people's mind so that they remember you as they need to purchase your product or service.
so if an event is done properly, even just once a month, right? A once a month event done properly, what kind of revenue can people see from that kind of a boost in
Over a year, probably 25 grand a month.
25 grand a month? Okay. And then how much for like an employee or a coach just specifically over events and over
25 if I was you.
25? Okay.
That five makes a difference.
Okay. Oh, I agree with that. I do agree with that. Um, but over like a month, what would that cost for an employee, a team to
Actually, probably you can probably get it done and do it for probably 10 grand a month.
10? Okay. Done properly, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So talk me through segmentation, targeting.
Okay. So targeting and segmentation, what that's all about is too many times we think that our targets are the sum of everybody that we'll take money from. And that's not it at all. you'll take money from those that want to give you the money, but really you're targeting your efforts. The money you spend, the extra time you spend should be focused on those that'll bring you the highest return. So your most profitable opportunities, because most of us don't have time to spend it on every single section of the market. And so where can you stand out the most? Where can it build the most? And also who who are those targets? Are there people that are going to help you spread the message? Are they going to talk about what you're doing? And so in this particular case, we actually help you define who those are. Nobody should have just one target. I don't care what kind of business you are, you shouldn't have one. If, say, your target was women, if you tried to resonate with millennial women and senior women at the same time, you'd probably really miss it, right? If you try to do it, you'd probably water it down so that it didn't offend or hurt either side, and so your message would be weak. With today's data, with today's targeting abilities, you can say, okay, this is my target over here. This one's 40% of my business, right? And this one's 20%. But here's the message I send. Here's the vehicles I use. Here's the way to get in front of this group, and what the content of what I'm going to say will resonate with this group. And then this group, it's a little bit different content, right? It's, hey, here's what's important to them. You're still selling the same service, the same products, but you're customizing it and you're putting it out in a way that will attract more of those people that'll help you spread the message. And as you see people do that, I mean, we've got stories we can show you in companies that we have just turned around or saved, or we had one that I'll share with you if you go through the class, but was a coffee shop, and they were afraid of a um, I can't think of even the name. Look, I forgot about it.
The big name
Yeah,
coffee,
who's the
the
biggest?
green, the Starbucks.
Starbucks. Yeah, okay. I don't know why I drew the blank at that. Starbucks was coming into town, and they had just this. The company I was working with had one location, but how do we stand out against them? And we were actually able to do it mostly through segmentation and targeting, by picking the right people that we wanted to knock their socks off. We wanted to do a great job so that they would tell the world about this. And it was kind of neat as the Starbucks came in, only lasted 6, 7 months, and then actually closed. And I'd never heard of a Starbucks closing that quick. Usually you have enough money, they stick around for a while. But in that particular case, they won. And it was neat because it wasn't just the owners, the people and all the people that worked in the coffee shop, they knew who their targets were. And they would, like, if I walked in there, they'd like, hey, Steve, we had, 14 Mrs. Jones and 3 Mrs. Andersons this morning, and they'd actually talk to me about that. And so it was neat to see how that worked. And that lots of companies like that change and get an ROI all of a sudden where they haven't in the past.
So by being able to segment that, right? You take money from everybody, but being able to segment exactly who you're targeting, what kind of a benefit can you see from a monthly
Probably
benefit?
about 30,000.
30? Okay. These are great numbers. And how much would it cost to have like a coach coming in and making sure all of it's fine tuned every month and working properly?
Some of the ones I know out there that do that are probably close to 15 grand a month.
15? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So email campaigns, I think we all get like a ton of emails every single day.
Yeah.
Walk me through why it is email campaigns are most effective.
So what's sometimes even I look at all the emails I get and I think, is this really effective? But if you look at the data of what's being sold and working through, emails actually, even in the last 6 months, have even taken another step up in effectiveness. They're working out there. And again, you have to be very careful. You have to do it right. You have to understand, okay, how do I make the email look itself? And the most important part is your subject line. That's going to determine. And then what do I want to get out of it? And have I accomplished all that? So through our class, we actually show you, we've worked with some of the best people I think in the world at emails, and have data that shows exactly how to do it, what to do it. We share that with you, and then we talk about how to do that right, and what's the frequency, how often do I get it out there, and then what do I say so it makes it stand out, and then what do I, if people unsubscribe, how do I handle that properly so that it's okay. And so that's part of it. And then when we talk about TV spots, this is a little bit different than commercials. Is one of the neat things that we've really found, and we do with a lot of our clients, is if we can get a client on the news or on like the daily talk show or something along those lines, um, the credibility of that person goes way up because it's not a commercial where it's salesy. Instead of 30 seconds, it's usually 4 minutes or so. And they're treated as an expert from the host, and they're usually asked questions about their industry. Anyway, we talk about with us, we have a lot of times our best thing is to have them on TV to build that link to a TV station that goes back and forth. And then we get the clip after. We not only put it on social media, but we email it out to people so that people that didn't see it weren't watching. But it's a credibility piece that just usually makes our clients look like, okay, they must be one of the leaders in this industry because they were on TV and here's what they're teaching us, right? So it's huge. That one's a good piece to your marketing.
So by using email campaigns and TV spots every single month, what kind of a boost can you see in revenue as far as that goes?
I'd say about 25.
25? Okay. And then how much would it cost to have like a trainer just make sure, have like a coach, I guess, to kind of
Probably about 10 grand.
10 grand? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This next one is really interesting to me. Connecting with different types of people. Why is that important within marketing? Like what is the whole
So
point?
yeah, it actually is huge. And a lot of times we don't realize it, most of us, but when we look at a piece that we're putting out for marketing, we look at it could be a brochure, it could be a social media piece, could be an email, and we judge it from our own standard. Just so you know, there's you're only judging it for people that think the way you do, right? And so a lot of times we think, well, everybody must think the way I do, or they're wrong, and but that's not the case. And and I have a situation in my family with a couple of my siblings, who this person thinks very much like I do, and so he and I see things the same way. This guy, he looks at the world from a whole different viewpoint, and for a while that really frustrated me because I didn't think that he got it. I didn't. But as I learned and went out and saw some of these personality tests and saw how people, now all of a sudden I can say, okay, here's what's important to him. Here's the things the way he sees the world. Now, if I speak his language, if I know what's going to excite him, and I know what's going to excite him, all of a sudden there's multiple people that I can appeal to. And if you look out there, there could be 3 or 4 or 5 different personality types. There's lots of different personality things out there that you can go through and check. And some of them are better than others. There's a wide range from colors to aqua mammals to whatever groups. But what I like is coming back and saying, okay, I kind of know how to pitch to people that think the way I do because I know what I like. But if this person over here, he is more blueprint minded, he is more academic, he wants to see charts and graphs. Okay, what's the best way that I can approach and appeal to him? Or this person over here, they're very nurturing. They're more concerned about everybody being happy than the dollars or whatever. How do I promote our product and service so I appeal to that person? And that whole type of thing is something that a lot of people don't get, but the ones that do really are able to take their businesses to a whole new level. And so what you want to do is come back and look at that in your marketing. How do I adjust our marketing so that I can appeal to more than just the people that see the world the same way I do?
So you're able to connect with so many different people
Yeah.
by learning this kind of a skill and
Yeah, it's like
implementing it.
speaking multiple languages. It really is because, yeah, if you could meet up a group and they all speak English, great, you got that covered. But say there's some people that speak Japanese over here, by becoming bilingual, by understanding their language, what they see, what they feel, all of a sudden you can market your product or services to more than just yourself, and it really pays off.
Absolutely. So what would you say monthly people can kind of bank on for
Probably
revenue?
about 30 grand.
30 by
Yeah,
just learning how to talk to people,
yeah,
right? Learning how to sell and how to connect with people. And then if they were to hire a coach to walk them through, I know that I mean that it ranges, right?
yeah.
How far, but
There's some out there that are even more than this, but I know a couple out there that work with the company, but they're still like 20 grand a month.
20 grand a month.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. They're still making money, right?
yeah,
In paying these coaches
right.
and doing what needs to be done. But
Yeah.
awesome. Well, let's talk last here. We're just about finished out, but the king, right? In marketing right now is SEO. Walk me through why it is important to kind of understand what it is SEO does and how to use
So
it.
different businesses, SEO becomes more important. I'm trying to see the best way to say this is probably so some companies live and die by SEO because they're almost emergency or spot on driven, and others may not live and die by it but still need it. And what you need to do is understand really what SEO is about. What is it can do for you, and what is needed? Because there's lots of things out there with SEO that you can pay for that may or may not give you the ROI. And so one of the things we go through here is we actually say, okay, what parts of SEO do you need to keep your eye on? And then what are those, what are those numbers to look at? What are those measurements? Is this working for me? Am I spending money here? Is this the right place? And just because you hear of somebody else in another business spending this much money on SEO doesn't mean that's what you should do. You come back and look and say, okay, how do I best achieve what the clients or prospective customers that I want to get, what's going to be the right way for me to be out there? And there's a lot of information out there, and that's always changing. So it's great to kind of be on top of that and to kind of understand, all right, this is how much I could or should be paying. This over here is too much. I don't think I'll get any ROI off of that. Or this over here is something I could add, and it'll actually add, an extra whatever $5,000 a month in business to me. And so what we do is we really try to make that clear. And there's a lot of things even with AI now and things that you need to understand. Where do I use that? Where do I not? And so that whole SEO thing is a huge part of where we're going. And really, you look at the path of a customer to contact you. Um, a good portion of it goes through SEO, right? Unless they meet with you face to face, and a lot of it could go through SEO before they get there. And so you want to make sure that that flows perfectly and straight to so that you can get the contacts you need.
Okay, so if they're able to dial in their SEO for monthly revenue, what kind of numbers have you seen?
Probably around $40,000 a month.
40 grand?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to ask Holden, who's here with us, if he'll add up all these numbers for me when we're done with this next one. The monthly cost to have somebody specifically assigned to SEO and doing it all properly.
So a company that would be about this size, you're probably looking at about 25,000.
25? Okay. Awesome. All right. So total, I mean, monthly revenue that could be brought in if all of these things are dialed in and spot on. What are we looking for total wise? 250 for that one?
250,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. $250,000 that can be brought in, right? And generated monthly for a company based on just having all these skills and abilities to
Yeah.
be able to do that. And then if they were to take this money right here and pay out a coach, what would we be looking at? 140? Okay. So I mean they're still making well over 110,000, right?
Right.
Even by paying out. So I mean paying out 140,000 to make 250.
Yeah, a lot of people would do that every day.
Yeah. Like I mean that's smart to do, right?
Yeah.
To be able to have the coaches and everything to do that with you. So but you said our marketing does that for less. So around 70,000? Yeah.
So that's kind of about the spot. So we do it for about half of what it do cost there.
Okay.
However,
For the Blitz class, you mean?
yeah,
70,000? I mean
yeah,
that's worth it. That's
yeah,
absolutely worth it. You're talking paying $70,000 to make 250,
yeah.
you know. I mean that to me would be worth it, right?
Well, what if we cut it less than that?
Less than the we're already at 50% though, right?
Yeah. But what if we went down to okay, I'm gonna get crazy on you.
Okay.
What if we did $25,000, and that would be for them to go through that entire course
For the whole
Yeah,
Blitz course,
yeah,
you really are 25,000
yeah.
for the entire Blitz course. So what you would pay 140,000 for, am I right?
Yep.
And this is monthly that they pay out?
No, that's a one-time deal. One-time deal to go through the whole course, and then, you know, most of this, though, after that course, they'll be able to do themselves. They may hire some people because they know how to do it with them, but they'll know how to do that.
But this is just a one-time payment.
Yep. One-time payment. I know.
Okay.
Probably should have talked to you about that before. Huh?
Okay. So a one-time payment of 25 grand
Yeah.
to make an additional 250,000
Yeah.
a month, right? I mean, wow, that'd be worth it all day long. So what if they wanted this? I actually went back while you were talking and talked to the team, and it actually is ready to go now.
Awesome.
Did you know
I
that?
knew it was within very, very close, but I didn't know if the final was there.
It is ready to go today.
That is perfect.
So yeah. So they can sign up today for $25,000. That's ridiculous, but they can sign up today for $25,000 one payment and get all of this and everything that you're teaching. But how can they work with our marketing on a monthly
So,
scale?
yeah, one of the other things that we do out there that people will call and have us just kind of walk through on a monthly basis, go through and kind of coach them, give them ideas, uh, you know, give them case studies of things to work for other people, and we do that on a monthly basis. We were charging $7,000 a month for that too,
Okay, so
but I'm just saying that while we got this good deal going, I think we should cut that in half too and go like, well, like 3,000. I know I should talk with you about the numbers beforehand, but 3,000.
so 3,000 a month.
Yeah. And then that we're having conversations with you throughout the month. We're talking, we're giving ideas, we're sharing case studies, we're going over what worked, any type of help we can give to you in setting yourself up.
Okay, so they pay a one-time payment of 25 grand and or
Yeah.
they can add this in as well,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. We find some people that have gone through this, they do really get it for the after they do it and they really see the income, but then they're like, hey, bring me back to the basics. Tell me this. And so then they later sign up for this thing. And then it's like every month with them and their staff, we're actually meeting with them and we're saying, okay, here's what's working, here's what's not, and
Okay.
kind of getting them back so that they continue to grow like they have been
So just to
originally.
make sure that we have a company still moving forward, right? Can I just put 12 months on here?
Yeah. Yeah. 12 months only. You're right.
Okay. And then we'll reevaluate. Is that okay?
Yep. That's right.
So that we're here to help you, right? But at the same time, we need to pay our staff as
And that's
well.
kind
So
of the fun part of for us is the joy of working with all the different type of businesses that we get to work with and to see them grow. And we've seen even small businesses, all of a sudden who are barely getting by, all of a sudden high five us because all of a sudden they made an extra 3 grand for the month or 5 grand for the month, and then pretty soon they're making much, much more than that. And they're like taking their family on trips and they're talking to us. But to us, just the joy of seeing them make that work and take this dream of theirs of having a business being successful. That's kind of what it's all about for us. I
that's
love
true.
that working one-on-one. And we learn so much too, because every business is a little bit different, but there's a lot of things that are the same that people don't think are the same, right? Even
That's
though
true.
you might have a business that's over here doing this, some of the same issues that might be worded different, but are some of the same issues of getting the name out.
Okay. Well, before we give away everything else,
Yeah, we're giving to the farm. Yeah, sure.
we'll end this live.
All right. You know,
So,
my mouth shut. I don't give away anything else so cheap.
so thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks. Please contact us.